Hey family from the Keller Williams Cedar Park Leander office. It's Emily Dieckmann and I'm here with Gilbert and we're going to go over our listing presentations. I'm excited to learn from him what he does and probably
And
won't learn much
I'm
from
very
me.
excited to learn from Emily as well. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over our listing presentations. Now, of course, every single situation can be different depending on the house, the client, etc. But for the most part, these are the steps that we each take when we go on a listing appointment. So it's going to go pretty fast. Obviously, we can speed up or slow down when we're in front of a live client. So keep that in mind. I'll start off with telling you what I do with my listing presentations. And, first of all, we obviously set the appointment. Once I get that appointment set up, I always make sure that all decision makers are going to be present during the appointment. That's very important because there's times where in the past I've learned from my mistakes where they'll be like, well, my husband's at work, but that's okay, just you come alone, and then they meet with another realtor and both are there, and then I miss out on that opportunity. So we don't want that. I also ask, are they interviewing any other agents? And if they have, what did the other agents say to them? I think that's really important because they'll give you some feedback on that information. Um, Anyways, we get the appointment. I get all their contact information. I make sure all decision makers are going to be at the house, and we set the appointment. And I send them a market analysis of their home up front. I started doing this during COVID, so they get all the information. They can look at it, review it before I even arrive. I of course am going to go over it with them again. But
And you do that via email?
I do that via email.
Okay.
And I just go through the Austin Board of Realtors CMA, and I obviously tailor it to their needs and send that to them beforehand. And I ask them to review that before our meeting, and I let them know that I'm going to bring a printed copy so we can discuss it as well.
So that's something that I don't use is that CMA. I've tried to play around with it a little bit, but I don't know as much, I think, as what I should know. And that could be a class maybe we do later on.
Yeah, because with the new matrix, that CMA is actually improved. There's some more documents, pages that you can add to your CMA if you haven't already looked at it. There's new pages that talk about why you want to hire a realtor, and the odds of a for sale by owner selling their home without a realtor, and how much they can possibly lose. Those are all in there in the new matrix that's in there. So it's a pretty cool tool. I don't use every single page, so I tailor it to me and I tailor it to my client, and I pick the pages that I feel are going to be most important for that situation.
Okay, so about how many is that you send to them?
Usually it's about 15, 16
Okay.
pages.
So it is
Yeah.
kind of like your listing presentation, but it has the CMA in it.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. So it does have some information on there. Okay. So obviously, we set the appointment. I show up on time. That is extremely important. Make sure you are on time because that's going to be the first impression that you're setting for these folks. Okay. In the event something happens and you're not going to be on time, even if it's 5 minutes late, make sure you call them and text them and say, "Hey, I'm running 5 minutes behind," and let them know. Very important.
Yeah.
Okay. So I pull up. I start to take mental notes of the neighborhood, the houses around me. I look at their house, I look at their exterior, I look at their lawn, their bushes, etc., their paint, and I'm taking mental notes on that. I go up, I ring the doorbell, I take a few steps back so I'm not just right in their face when they answer, and they answer the door, and I'm Gilbert Gonzales with Home Connect 512 Keller Williams Realty, and we have an appointment set for 2 p.m. Great. I walk in and I tell them, I say, thank you very much for having me over. I really do appreciate it. And the next step is like, why don't we start with you showing me your home? And then we go from there. And they start to walk me through the home. We go room by room, and I ask them, I say, hey, please tell me about any upgrades that you've done to the home because I want to make notes about this. Mm-hmm. We want to know about that kind of stuff to highlight it. As I'm going through the house, obviously I'm getting to know them. I'm allowing them to get to know me as well. I'm also talking about the steps that I do for my listings. I let them know that every single one of my listings gets a staging consultation that I pay for upfront in order to get their home staged. My stager will come out, they'll tell them what to do with what they currently have and stage the home. And then we also have the option to get it staged with additional furniture, pictures, pillows, things like that to make it look nicer if needed.
And you're doing that when you walk with them through the
When
house.
I'm walking through there, it's very casual. They're casual. We're, at ease, and I'm telling them what I'm doing to the house. Okay. And they're envisioning, okay, well, what would this look like staged kind of thing. Okay. And I make it to where we're not calling their house or their furniture ugly. We're just saying, hey, look, we want to appeal to a wide variety of audiences because we don't know who's coming into this house. So we want to appeal to everyone, right?
Right.
And then I explain after the staging consultation, I'm going to give them a call and I'm going to ask them, how did the staging consultation go and how long is it going to take to get these items achieved? Typically it's within 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on what they have. And I let them know once it's done, I will send out my professional photographer, not me, not my iPhone, because some agents will take their own pictures.
Yeah.
So I send in a professional photographer. They're going to come out. They're going to do a photo shoot. We're going to have a virtual tour, and those are steps that we take to be able to get their home sold online. And I tell them how important staging is and photography is because in today's day and age, buyers are eliminating houses they don't want to see. So they're looking on all kinds of websites and they're saying, oh, that didn't make the cut because it didn't show so nice online. Well, we want to get them in the door, so staging and photography is extremely important.
Yeah, and that's what will remain. Like, even if the dog tears up the carpet or something, you still have those photos that you can use while they're repairing that. And then also, you have a level of sophistication with your brand, and using your iPhone would not meet up to your level of Home Connect 512.
That's right, because reality, my listings are still out there. People can see them. Sometimes I had a interview with an agent and he said, hey, can you send me some of your past listings? I want to see their photography. I reached out to my photographer. They sent me links and I had probably 30 homes that I sent them that they could take a look, and we have more, but we didn't want to overwhelm them too much, and they all looked great. So after we walk through the house, we look at the backyard, the front yard, all the bedrooms, etc. Then at that time, it's time to talk numbers. And I say, hey, now let's talk about the exciting stuff. I always ask them, where should I sit? I think that's very important because I was in some type of training seminar and they said, the worst thing you want to do is, sit on someone's chair that they're accustomed to sitting, and the whole time you're doing their presentation, they're going to be thinking, Gilbert's sitting in my chair. We don't want that. So we want them to feel comfortable. So I always ask, where should I sit? If they ask me for a refreshment, I always say yes. No matter what it is, I say yes, because again, that's where you're kind of starting to ease into the relationship by accepting that.
But not alcohol, right?
Not alcohol. Okay. Yeah, and I have had people ask me if I want to drink some alcohol, and I just respectively decline it.
Yeah.
So anyways, so we sit down and we start going over what I have in my listing presentation, and it's not very advanced. It's pretty simple. So first of all, every single one of my listings, if y'all can see this is my folder for Home Connect 512 Keller Williams Realty on the bottom. Okay, in here I have some different information. One of the first items that I start with is, what is a realtor exactly and what can I do? And this is personalized. You can see Home Connect 512 brand is right in the middle, and it goes over some details. Why you need a realtor, what does Home Connect 512 do for you? And then it goes into Gilbert Gonzales Realtor, and then it also goes into the different accreditations, education levels that I have in the industry, different awards that I've won, different communities that I'm involved in, etc. So all that information is there for them to view. And
right up front. So the worst thing that could happen would be you bring them all this knowledge and information and they turn around and do it for sale by owner, but you're countering that right there on that first page. That's absolutely right, because I actually went on a listing appointment 2 weeks ago. It's going live, or 3 weeks ago. It's going live today. And he was like, Gilbert, I feel like I can sell my house myself because the market is so hot, and at that time, I said, okay, well,
where are you going to get all the documents that you need to be able to list your house? And once you get a contract, where are you going to get the contract? Oh, I can find it online. How do you know you're going to fill it out correctly? You know, those kind of things. And I tell them, today's consumer, they're very smart as well. They know you're not paying a realtor, so guess what? They want that savings. You're not paying a realtor, why should you get the savings? We want that savings. So now they're going to lowball you even more. And so we have those conversations of why they need me as their realtor to navigate them through this process and sell their home for the quickest amount of time for the most amount of money. Yeah. And I use that verbiage and I tell them, that's what you want, right? And I nod yes. Mm-hmm. And they nod yes, not even thinking about it. The next step I do is I go into, highlighting myself again. This is a form that I give to them, and it's titled "Don't Take My Word for It. See what others are saying." And it goes through some different sites: Yelp, Realtor.com, Zillow, Facebook, Google, reviews that past clients have said about me. And I tell them, I want to do such a good job for you that you want to write a review about me and my services when we're all done. And at the same time, I want you to be able to trust me as your lifetime realtor to refer me to your friends and family. So the relationship doesn't end here, okay? And they appreciate that. They don't want, we're just not about selling a home. Obviously that's very important, but it's really more about the relationship, because when you start building those relationships, that the business will come, because they'll start referring you out. Mm-hmm. My next form is I go into, this is a Keller Williams form that I got it off the Keller Williams site, and it's why sell with Keller Williams, and it has details of why we're the best brokerage in the world. We're the largest brokerage. We're the highest brokerage in members and in technology, and we're far more advanced than some of the other brokerages. So you want that, right? You want your house listed on the Austin Board of Realtors and the Keller Williams Hub.
Yep.
Some brokerages, they don't have that opportunity to get those extra sites on there.
And so Gilbert is assuming that these sellers are going to meet with other agents, and you're just knocking it out of the ballpark right away. Why their brokerage is not as good, why their agent is not as good, because you've presented that all up front. That's incredible. I don't do that, and I like it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. One step, because I had these out of order, but I miss is when I'm talking about my photography, I give them this pamphlet, and it talks about the photographer that I use, and it's a 2-sided document, and it goes into what they need to do to prepare for the photo shoot, okay? And I tell them, hey, we're going to have the house looking perfect. We never want to rush a listing. In other words, for the staging, so we want it to be perfect on day one. We want all the lights to be on, the curtains to be drawn, pictures. Make sure your fans are turned off. There's nothing worse than seeing a fan with just the light on a picture. It does not come out well. So we go over that as well. And then finally, I go over Capital Title is one of my preferred title companies, and I have this pamphlet that I get from them. It's free. You can pick it up and use it in your presentations. And it goes through the process of selling a home, and it goes through definitions, and it goes through examples, etc. And I tell them, hey, this is just a pamphlet for you to have and go through, but understand I'm going to hold your hand through the process. So I'm going to be there when you call me, text me, email me. I'm going to get back to you immediately if I don't answer at that time. Now, let's talk about what you want to hear. And we go over the CMA. I sent you a CMA, and did you have a chance to review it? Yes. And then at that time, I go through the CMA, and I first of all, I always have a tax sheet printout. Very important. You want to make sure that you have all their information correct. And as you can see, I have notes that I've written on here, and I definitely use that for the listing. And I go through and I say, hey, it shows here that your house is 2,047 square feet. Is that correct? Yes. Has 4 bedrooms? Yes. 2.5 baths? Yes. Built in 95? Yes. Because sometimes you'll get, no, my house is larger than that. Oh, really? What makes you think that? Well, we just recently refinanced, and it came up, it was 2,300 square feet. Okay, do you have that appraisal? Yes. Okay, then if you have it and it's in writing, we can use it. And on the listing, we're going to put 2,300 square feet per appraisal. Mm-hmm. Every single bit of square footage will help your client's situation. Okay, and then we go through the CMA. We talk about the prices. We talk about what other homes in the area are selling for, and then I just ask them, after reviewing these documents, where do you feel your home is worth? and I stay quiet. And I'll get two responses. I'll get the response of they'll tell me where they feel their home is worth, and then they'll say, Gilbert, that's what you're here for. You're supposed to tell us. And I'll tell them, you're absolutely right. And I am going to tell you, but I want to know where you feel your home is worth because I know you have a number in mind. And then they tell me that number. And then at that time, I either say, I feel like I can get you more because that happens sometimes. Or we have the conversation of, where did you get that number? Because it's a little bit high for what the market is supporting, and we go over the details so they understand not to overprice their home. Once they understand that we get a price, then guess what? We go for the close. I let them know that, hey, you know what? I enjoyed visiting with you, and I feel you're a good fit for me, and your house is very marketable. Why do I tell them that they're a good fit for me?
Well, because you have a choice too, right?
That's absolutely right. Because not every single client is going to be a good fit. And I'm okay with turning someone down if I feel that they're not a good fit. If they want to, they're trying to negotiate my real estate commission, they want to overprice their home, they don't want to do any type of staging, they're just going to be a tough client. Very rarely does that happen, but it does. And me just saying, hey, you're a good fit for me tells them that it's kind of an exclusive thing that you're working with them, and it kind of just amps up the situation a little bit more.
Man, that's amazing. I had never thought to do that, and our approaches are going to be so different, but I really appreciate what you're teaching me right now. You're very direct and just very methodical, and I want to list with you. And I want you to want to list with me.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
It's a choice for you, you're not so money hungry that you'll just take anybody.
And that's exactly right. Mm-hmm. And I asked that question. I say, you're a good fit for me. Your house is very marketable. Do you think I'm the right realtor for you? And you stay quiet and you wait. They just say yes. And you're like, great. I have the listing documents here. Let's go ahead and get this signed and we can start working together.
Okay. So you bring the listing documents with you, fully filled out or partially, or
so most of the time I bring the listing documents with me. There are times where we'll do it online. Mm-hmm. I'll have some of it to where it's a small portion of it where they commit to work with me, and then I tell them, hey, I'm going to send you the rest of the documents via DocuSign just for saving paper purposes. Because recently COVID, I've been with Keller Williams for 11 years now, and I was accustomed to using paper files. I had my file folder, and I'd keep all my folders there, my files, and I'd print every single detail about the transaction and keep it in that folder. Well, COVID hit, and I was officing from home. I didn't have that option, so then I started creating folders on my computer. Imagine that. And so now it's like that's the only way I do business. Everything is a lot of it is paperless, and it's a really good way. And it took getting in the COVID situation to really get me to kind of change my ways of doing things.
That's awesome.
So and the reason I'm saying that is real estate and selling is constantly learning. Something that worked for me 10 years ago may not work today, and I have to constantly evolve. And that's why I like to surround myself with other agents like Emily, veteran agents, even new agents, because I can learn a lot, and that's very important to do.
Yeah, so. I agree. I just learned a ton here, even though as we go through, I didn't know we'd be so similar, but we are pretty similar on what we provide and how we provide it. But I think the approach, it's a little bit different. I love how methodical you are, and you are in control of the situation. There's no doubt about it when you come in. And I think I show up more of like a mom and a friend that you can definitely trust. Not that you couldn't trust you, but I'm just more flowery and it's just different two personalities. But I agree, I enjoy spending time with you. I've learned so much, and this is one thing that the ALC gets to do is learn from high producing individuals. And so if you don't mind, I might take some of yours from
I'm going to learn from you as well. So
well, the same thing like Gilbert says is when I get a chance to meet with someone and they ask me to come over to their home, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win that listing. Although now I'm going to start saying you're a good fit for me, or maybe I need to go think about it a little bit more, but because I definitely don't want to be
hard to get.
Yeah. One thing I've heard over and over in some of the training that I've done is have your listing presentations sent ahead of time to the seller so that they can read over it and get to know, and it just that event in itself just elevates the business. I think we stopped for a second. Okay, we're still continuing
Good.
on.
All right.
So I'm trying to do that a little bit. I have an assistant that can run it over maybe the day before or when we prepare it, and then I will show up, just like Gilbert said, on time, and if I'm not going to be on time, then definitely let them know. From the first phone call to showing up at their doorstep, all that, they're checking you out and wanting to make sure that you're going to be the realtor for them. So when I show up, I've done my background CMA and searching, about their home as much that I can find, and I show up with a big notebook, and all this stuff is inside. And the notebook opens up, and it's just a pad of paper that I say right when I walk in, "Thank you so much for letting me come to your home. Do you mind if I set my bag down? And I'd really like to see your home first so I can take some notes." I've heard of agents not winning listings because they haven't taken copious notes about the home. Like the sellers think, they didn't even care about my home to write down any notes.
It's like when you go to a restaurant and a waiter doesn't or waitress doesn't write down your order, and the whole time you're thinking, are they going to get it right?
That's right, yeah. And there's so much detail, like, as many as we go on, I kind of think it's that house I just saw last week. Did it really have 3-car garage? So really, and I write as much as I can down, and sometimes I'm writing their names or their dogs' names, and I tell them, I'm going to be writing a lot of notes as we go through. I want you to tell me about the room, some things you love about your home. I want you to tell me about all the upgrades that you've done, because that's how it's going to come to life when I have to write out the description. And so they're kind of more open that way. And I'll comment and make nice comments on the way they have their furniture arranged or the color of the wall, so they feel secure with that, and then they get embarrassed if they've colored a wall bright green or something like that. And so then after we do our walkthrough front and back and ask about the add-ons and everything, then I say, how about we go sit down at the table and I'll show you kind of what the market's doing. That's how I approach it. And I'll say, first of all, I brought this for you, and mine's also branded this way, although I use a white folder. This is what we had today. And let me just show you real quick what I brought for you. On this side is the listing presentation. It has information about why it's important to price your home correctly in the first 30 days, how I market, what Keller Williams does for you, some things my past clients have said about me, and a little bit about my background. But it really knocks the cobwebs off of selling a home if you haven't done that in a while. And then on this side, this is homework for you. If we decide to move forward, I'll ask if this is done before we go live on the market, because this is the best way that I can protect you, is to have all the homework done at the beginning. So for you guys, since we're in kind of a classroom setting, I just want to show you quickly. This listing presentation is about 15 different pages, and I got it off of kw.com, maybe our old KW.
Yep.
And what I did is just tricked it out for my colors there and my logo over here. And every house that I go to, I'll find the old one on the MLS and take a picture, and it's kind of fun because it's nostalgic for them. Oh yeah, I remember this was before I painted that garage door. So that's always fun. And if I can't find a picture, then I'll just do like an overhead of Lago or a Point Venture. And again, this I do front and back to save paper. And at the very end, I actually sign it, which is a little letter about me and my history. And just a little personal touch. I don't know if they read this or use it, in the bathroom, but anyway. And then quickly for the homework, and I will go over this with them. I will not go over this side with them. But this is the homework, and it says, I want you to do a contact information sheet, seller's disclosure, a top 10. If you have a survey, I want a T47. And then I've just started giving them a portion of the MLS input sheets. We've had a new MLS change, and there's a lot more information that goes into it. So what I'm working on right now with my assistant Vicki is to tailor that so that the seller actually fills out the majority of that.
Yeah, and that's what we do too. We're actually tailoring down that list as well.
Because it's 20 pages right now.
Yeah, our previous one was only 2 pages. And,
cool.
And because you got to think about, 20 pages, that includes like questions like, what area are you in? They're not going to know area as far as the initials. So it's good to use that to cover yourself. And I let them fill it out, because if there's something wrong that we plug into the listing and they wrote it down, then, obviously the liability is on them.
Right. And how are we supposed to know if they have low VOC, whatever that is, or some green appliances? It's really better that we fully cover what they have. So then I provide that contact sheet for them, and I also want to, if they don't have children, then they may have pets that they consider their children, so we want to definitely put that on there. And then this is good for birthdays and follow up for later. This is a seller's disclosure form. I give them all 5 pages, and I say, this is just going to be practice for you. I will send you the seller's disclosure through Seller's Shield. It's a program that's free to you, but just by filling it out online that way, protects you a lot more. But I want this to be practice for you if you want to do it first on this paper. The next thing is called a T47. We'll go over that if you have a survey for me, and then I'll tell them how to do that. And then this is something I've learned by looking at all these other homes in Austin. When I was a new agent and didn't have a lot of business going on, I'd go to all open houses that I could, and it's just the top 10 reasons why a seller loves their home. And I say, you can put stuff on here that I can't say as a realtor, like you're best friends with the next door neighbor, or you all come together and have really great parties, or the same type of people live on your street. I can't say things like that, but you can, and this is what we put in that really connects a buyer to your home. So I'm going to leave this for you. Look it over, and then when you're ready to list, we will make sure you have all your homework. So what I brought today was, just like Gilbert, the realist printout sheet, and I'm wanting to make sure the square footage is correct, and then especially around the lake regions, if I have the correct lakefront ownership, which is like what I did yesterday. And then I do a quick CMA. This one I did yesterday actually only had 4 homes in Point Venture that sold that was like theirs. So I just printed this whole thing out. One new thing I've done is make a spreadsheet that shows my comps and their MLS numbers, and then I make personal notes. This was the Golden Girls house. This is what it looked like, or I sold this home 5 months ago at the highest price per square foot, whatever it is. And then I keep that. I don't let them have it. I say, if you'd like a copy, I will scan it to you, but I need to use this for the appraiser and meet the appraiser so he knows my thought process right when we went on the market. And so at that time, we discuss the numbers, and I'll say, according to what has sold, the quick CMA, if we use the median price per square foot on your home, this is what the home would list for. And if we use the average price per square foot, this is what it would list for. But I see that you have so many more upgrades. Maybe we could go a little bit higher. Mm-hmm. But let's look now, if we go a little bit higher, let's look at what the current market holds, and where would you be in standing with the other ones on the market. And I always tell them that, remember, that's a wish list of all the homes on the market right now. That's a wish list price that these sellers want to get. This is true market data of what people actually pay for a home. And then from there we have the discussion of what to price it, and I also bring in my listing documents, but they're filled out, like 6% commission is always filled out, our brokerage information, but I never put their address or the price point or the start and end date. I will fill that out in front of them.
Okay.
And then we'll sign it, sometimes there, sometimes I'll go home and DocuSign if, it takes me about an hour and a half to do this.
Yeah,
And,
nice.
yeah.
Nice, very good. As you can see, our presentations are similar, but then they're also different. Like when she brought all the documents, 10 favorite things, and the seller's disclosure, T47, I do all that after I get the listing signed. And that's my choice. You can do it her way because she's building that relationship by doing it that method. I just choose to do it after the fact. Mm-hmm. And I like that because I also use Seller's Shield for the seller's disclosure. If you're not already using Seller's Shield, please start using it, because it is, first of all, it looks super professional online when you have your listing. The seller's disclosure is good, clean. There's no questions of what is that letter, etc. And it does not allow them to skip any steps.
That's right, and it asks them more questions that we can't help them fill out the seller's disclosure, but
right.
That Seller's Shield will ask them questions that help them answer.
Yeah, and that's part of, you get that at no charge with Keller Williams, so every one of you guys have that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's good. One thing when you were talking about walking around the house and et cetera that I forgot to mention is, when they're talking about staging, there's going to be times where the clients will start asking you staging questions. What should we do? Should we paint this wall? Should we replace that carpet? I've learned to not try to stage their home while I'm in the listing presentation. We'll talk about that once they hire me as a realtor. But what I do is I just say, that's a great question. I'm the realtor. I'm the one that gets your home sold, but my stager, she's the professional in that field, and she's going to be able to answer that question better for me.
I do the same thing because, how much time have I spent helping them declutter and my ideas? Well, now I elevated and became more of a professional like you, and I have a stager.
Mm-hmm.
That's her profession. That's what she learns. That's what she does classes on, and she's the expert, so I don't go there either.
Right, and it separates you from other realtors that are, because some of them are like, oh, our realtor, she did our staging, or she came and she or he came and told us what to do, and they did their own pictures and etc. And when we're telling them, like, we're going to pay for someone to come and help you stage your home, we're going to pay for someone to come out and do the photo shoot, they're thinking like, wow, this is some red carpet, service that we're receiving. So I feel that's important. So I'm glad to hear that you do that also.
Yeah, and the stager goes, then she'll give me the notes if I need to kind of help her along, because sometimes it can be difficult for the stager to have them do what she's saying to do, but she's actually the one that goes back out and says, yep, you're ready for pictures, Emily, ready to order pictures. So it's not even me making that decision if we're ready to get photos or not. And I pay my stager $100 to go out, and she spends about an hour and then gives me the report and then tells me when the photos are ready. And then I also pay for professional photography as well, and it has to be my photographer. So
yeah. A couple of years ago, I had a listing in Georgetown, and a super nice couple, and the husband's like, hey, we don't even need to take pictures. My wife's a professional photographer. And I said, okay, let's take a look at them. And I saw them in the pictures. Although they were nice, they weren't as nice as we were going to get out of my photographer. So I didn't want to offend them. So there's a fine line there. But the way I had kind of a way out of it is I said, hey, listen, we'd love to use your wife's pictures. However, my photographer gives me the ability to expose it to more websites because of the format. And it's a very true statement. They do. I can go to my photography and I can hit Facebook, different sites that I can automatically just blast them to, where we're probably not going to be able to do that with her photography. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, great idea. And so problem solved, no one was offended, and we got the home sold.
Yeah, there are so many graceful ways to go against these objections that people have. It's just kind of learning them as you go along, right?
Yeah,
really nice
right.
off the cuff.
That's right.
Gilbert's so good. He's routine, methodical. I love it.
Yeah, but I'm always learning. So.
That's right. So I think, we can delve in deeper to some of these subjects by some classes, like doing the Austin CMA or going on Keller Williams and finding a listing presentation that suits you. And the ALC is here to help you too. So if you ever want to do one-on-one or do some practice runs, we can do that too. Right?
Sounds great.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Gilbert.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video.